Here we go. It's the DC Sports Huddle, or actually this week we're renaming the show, calling it the Three Amigos or something like that. It's Dave Johnson along with Rob Woodfork, Dave Preston. Whenever somebody's missing, we just say they're on assignment. It could mean they're sleeping. It could mean any number of things, but Chris Cheon and George Wallace are on assignment. Wallace is probably working, and Cheon has probably made enough money in sports betting. He's on an island somewhere. We may never see him again. But I'm with Rob and Dave, and we start with, of course, a big shakeup in the Washington football team. After all these weeks, there's been a change in field goal kickers. And with due respect, that's a tough position in the NFL that you can make a 50-yarder like Dustin Hopkins did in the first half against Kansas City Chiefs, and you miss a critical one and you're out of a job. So Chris Blewitt is now the field goal kicker. And let's face it, I see the smile, Rob and Dave. I know you're smiling too. We've always been taught not to make fun of people's names, but it just seems like
I've done it on air so many times.
Right.
I mean, people are probably sick of me.
Well, and people are probably saying, he's probably making that up. His real name is Chris Johnson or something. So let's start.
Where does this rank with, wasn't there a guy, Frank Brakowski, who was in the NBA, which if you're a shooter, you don't want that name. I think Grant Balfour was a pitcher for Tampa Bay at one point. The guy who pitched for the Dodgers earlier this week, Walker Buehler, not exactly ideal either. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but Blewett is in that pantheon of bad names for your profession.
Well, and I know it's not sports related. Well, it sort of is, because I think he owned part of the Mets, but he took money from a lot of people, and his name was Bernie Madoff. And your last name is Madoff. So anyway, but on a serious note, Dave, I'll let you continue. The change in field goal kicker, that's not going to save the day.
No, it's not. I mean, Hopkins did miss 2 extra points, and he did miss 2 field goal attempts, and he would have missed a third had the New York Giants not been offside. So he's not the kicker of the future for this team. If you looked at his stats over the years, 89%, I think, his first season in 2015, 79% last year. So kickers don't get better necessarily as they age, but he's not the big problem. This is a defense that is last in the NFL in stopping the pass, last in the NFL at getting off the field. They allow the most points per game. And although they didn't have that 17-play, 93-yard soul-crushing drive like they did against the Bills, I think this was 15 for 96 and only 7 minutes off the clock against the Kansas City Chiefs. And George Wallace told me earlier this week that in the press box, when the Chiefs got the football with 10 minutes to play, they said, okay, they'll get it back, or no, this game's over. They're going to take the ball. They're just going to methodically move the football down the field and get points. And that's what they did. This defense has a lot of issues. And there are enough good pieces on this team that you wonder what the problem is. Some say it's injuries. It's a shame that, Jamin Davis had the best season, or the best week of his rookie season last week. And he was just an afterthought because so many tackles, especially on third down, being made by the defensive backs. It means that passes are getting completed in front or behind them, or the first 2 levels aren't making plays in the run game. We've said that all season long. That's an issue that's not going away no matter who kicks for you.
And Rob, as I'm watching you probably suffered a neck injury just now, agreeing with Dave Preston, what most he talked about. And again, as I talked about on Monday morning, it's what do we take from the fact that for the first half, they hit Patrick Mahomes 6 times, sacked him once, held him to 10 points. Was it a false dawn, or was that what the Washington football team defense is capable of? And I think at the end, you believe you hope anyway that they are capable of more of that first half performance. But Rob, your take.
Well, I have to see it to believe it at this point. And to look at this defense is to be disappointed on a weekly basis. I mean, they're the only team in the league giving up over 30 points per game. I mean, that's just not sustainable, especially when the defense was supposed to be the strength and the backbone and the heart and soul of this team. So, I mean, the change in kicker, I think it needed to happen. I think it should have happened long before now. And I know that his percentages are not bad per se, but it's when he misses. The ones that he misses are the critical ones you got to have, or the ones that change momentum and swings it the other way to the opponent. That's the thing that's been troubling. And to me, this is sort of symptomatic of what has been the issue with Ron Rivera since he's come here, is that it feels like he's brought a lot of the wrong people from Carolina. I mean, forget about what's going on with the trainer right now. It just feels like, and you guys laugh at me for the Cam Newton thing. I kind of feel like he would have better than the 86.9 quarterback rating that Taylor Heineke has right now. You look at the kicking situation, that's the big example right now. Graham Gano was out there to be had. They picked Joey Sly over him in Carolina. Graham Gano goes on to be a really good, reliable kicker for the Giants for going on 2 seasons now. That's a guy that we knew here, and that's a guy that Ron Rivera knew very well from his time in Carolina. He passes on that. And then Joey Sly, who beat him out, is available, and then he still doesn't bring him in. So it's just like, I don't understand some of what Ron is doing in terms of bringing in people that he is familiar with. But that aside, the defense, I don't think it's something that gets fixed this year. I think that there's going to have to be some pretty big changes overall to that defense. Whether or not scheme needs to be changed, that's up for debate. But in terms of the personnel, the second, you got to move on from Landon Collins. You got to fix that mess at linebacker and figure out, for the love of God, what it's going to take to get that defensive line. They have so much talent on the defensive line. They have backups that could be starting on other teams. There's no reason why you should be performing this poorly. It's one thing if this was a middle of the road defense, that's disappointing based on the talent that they have. But to be dead last in scoring, unacceptable.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think really was a false dawn what happened in the first half against the Chiefs.
And that's the thing. The Kansas City Chiefs have been beating themselves. They lead the league in turnovers. That's an aberration that I don't think you can rely on a week. Turnovers are the sort of thing that kind of even out over the course of a season. So I feel like they're going to have a stretch in November, December, where they're protecting the football better and they're going a couple of weeks without turning it over at all. And so I think that'll even out. But just
and also
Kansas City themselves. That wasn't Washington.
Right. Well, and also that first half was probably more of an indictment of the Washington offense, that they can only turn 3 turnovers into 7 points. And that's part of the offensive struggles we're dealing with. But I think the problem with the defense now is I watch them and I've watched them all season. We've all watched them all season. You'll start to see maybe some positive things, but you always have that anxiety in your stomach that a big play is coming at any moment, and that secondary will continue to be a sieve and continue to be a problem. When I heard Ron Rivera, and I think obviously, and I think we all agree, he's a quality coach. When he used the quote, "Your record is what you are," or "You are what your record says you are," mm-hmm. I thought that's a point of frustration, because he really doesn't have anything else to say at that point, because we've had a big enough sample size now of this season to know that this is not going to get fixed this season on defense. This is not a league where when you get on the train and you get midway on your journey that you can fix things, because injuries are going to derail certain things. It's just typically it can happen. Yes, you can get on a late winning streak in the NFL, but it's not a standard operating procedure. It's something that should be part of your game plan. So I think also, we're starting to see bad karma things happen, like that, the Sean Taylor jersey announcement, where it was tried to be sold to us that it was planned way in advance, but yet it was just announced the Thursday before the game. And then, fans were tweeting to me that there were no Sean Taylor jerseys available in the gift shop. So if it was planned months in advance, what's the explanation for that? And so I think there is a bad karma thing that happens in sports. And I think we've seen it with this Washington football team, where good coaches, whether it's Marty Schottenheimer or Mike Shanahan, or now Ron Rivera, can come here and think they can be part of the solution, and karma kicks in, and it's not good karma for Washington.
I mean, that's
it's almost as though
last week.
It's almost like a reverse car wash. I think Tom Lavero of the Washington Times put it that way, where you come here with the reputation and you leave and it's somewhat sullied, whether you're Mike Shanahan, who doesn't get a job after being here, Jim Zorn, who was not qualified to be the head coach of this franchise. Definitely not getting any sniffs for even a coordinator spot after that. You look at different, even Bruce Allen, who was kind of just a flunky. When he came here, he left a very incompetent individual, very inappropriate guy too. When you heard about the emails and stuff like that. So it's hopefully Ron Rivera can reverse the trend here, because it stinks not having a good team here. It stinks having a team that hasn't won 11 games in a regular season since 1991. It's unfortunate for a fan base that was so into this team when there were no other real team, when there was nobody else playing in Washington, D.C. Before the Capitals and Wizards moved to what was then MCI Center. There were no other teams in the city proper, really. And this was a Washington football town all those years. And it's a shame that things have turned, as they have over the last 25 years. I know that we're going to be talking Wizards. Two things before we move on. One, Rob made a great point about the kicking and confidence too. It's not just the numbers, but the kicks that weren't attempted, the pressure to go for it on fourth down once you got inside the 40, inside the 35, because Ron Rivera didn't have confidence in his kicker. And you saw a couple fourth and shorts where they probably should have gone for the field goal, but it wasn't even going to happen because there was no confidence in Hopkins. And two, we talk about third down, Washington not getting the job, moving the chains, not getting the job, getting off the field. We saw it this past Sunday where I think the Chiefs converted 8 straight third downs in the second half to run away with it. So you can't do that. If you can't make plays on third downs, it simplifies what is wrong with this team now.
Yeah, and you were just talking about interest in the team. Maybe that's the most glaring stat, that the Washington football team is last in the NFL in attendance. And now this has been going on a long enough time. There is a generation of people in Washington, if you tried to explain to them that there once was a waiting list for season tickets, they'd say, "Oh, come on, Dave, what are you talking about? You're making this up." No, there couldn't have been a waiting list for season tickets. Now there's a waiting list to get out of the Washington Stadium in the third quarter, and that's where we stand here.
I mean, we're going on 30 years since the last.
Going
on 30. The 30-year anniversary is right around the corner, and to Dave's point, I would settle for just a team that you can be proud of, that you're not ashamed of, as opposed to somebody who's competitive and who's competing for championships and all of that. If you're going to be, I mean, the Cubs for a lot of years were lovable losers. Like, it was a lovable thing. You can lose and still be, revered in your town or be loved in your town. The Browns were that for a long time. Washington can't be that because there's literally no piece of this franchise that makes you feel good. They don't perform on the field, off the field. There's scandal and controversy galore. There's just no, and the owner is completely unlikable. And as I wrote in my column last week, as long as he is at the top of that, pecking order, we can expect to see much of the same. And it sucks to say, it's discouraging and it's frustrating, but that's where we are right now. And until it changes, and I'll say again, get those 650,000 emails out. Let's find out everything that happened within the context of that controversy, and let's try and fix this once and for all. The NFL isn't interested in getting the truth. They're interested in getting whatever keeps them profitable.
Well, no, the NFL at times you could compare it to the old Soviet Union, the way they run. They very much control, manipulate. They're so powerful. And I better look over my shoulder now that I've made that statement, because it's a league that I do believe that the NFL decided that it wanted Gruden out because he didn't resign immediately, and it leaked those emails. I believe, though, and pardon me if I've got this incorrect, but I was Tom Lavera at the column, Dave Preston, you mentioned him. There was even a theory that, well, wait a minute, was it the Washington football team that leaked his emails to get at Bruce Allen? So when you start having this CSI, criminal investigation, become the focus and not the X's and O's, then you don't have a successful franchise. The only franchise that could be successful and be embroiled in litigation was Al Davis. And that's because he was suing the NFL and he could win Super Bowls at the same time with the Raiders. Yeah. What the Washington football team is dealing with is far more serious allegations and lawsuits than Al Davis was dealing with. Before we move on, there was even a question, do you want to switch to Kyle Allen? Again, I don't think Taylor Heineke is the long-term answer, but that's not, this Washington defense is, offense is capable of more than 13 points. We've seen that, we stand by the quotes. I think also that you hear what the players think of Taylor Heineke. This is not they've got some belief in Taylor Heineke, so you stay with that. You don't start changing that with the defense not fixed. It's a moot point.
And even still, Kyle Allen ain't that dude. I mean, until Ryan Fitzpatrick is healthy, that's the only time you have a question at quarterback. Kyle Allen, we've seen enough of him, not just here, but also in Carolina, to know he's not the guy.
All right, let's move on.
Can we just talk about a team that made the playoffs last year, like the Washington Wizards?
Well, yes, and that's where I'm going to start with as the Wizards. That it's easy to forget, as I wrote in my piece on WTOP.com, that we are talking about a team that made the playoffs because there was a coaching change, and often that doesn't happen, although it certainly does many times as well when you don't progress as far in the playoffs as you're expected to or want to, or there needs to be a change. So Wes Unseld Jr. now is in charge of the Wizards. And I think we enter a season where the hope has to be the Wizards become one of those teams that happens every year in the NBA and they surpass expectations, because right now there's not a lot of high expectations from the outside on this team. But this was a team that was third in the NBA in scoring last year, 116.6 points per game. You do have a player in Bradley Beal who could average 30 points a game and proved it last year. So when you start with just those two numbers and their ability to score, if as Tommy Shelby, the general manager, sometimes if you just improve the defense by 1, 2, or 3 possessions, it can make a big difference in your trajectory. And quite frankly, they did get better defensively, although now it's a new team, but toward the end of last year, because that's how they did make the playoffs after being 15 games below 500. Dave, we'll go to you. Your thoughts, and
I like the fact that Daniel Gafford is going to be here for a while. He was a game changer. It's sometimes the trades and moves that you make that they exceed your expectations. His addition last season was absolutely fantastic. And until Thomas Bryant gets healthy, this is a guy that they need. I like the commitment, the talk by Wes Unseld Jr. that yes, we're going to commit to defense. On another note, I'm not going to eat as much during the holiday season this December. So it's one thing to say it, but it looks like these guys are really committed to it. And you hope that's the case. You hope that this is something that can be maintained over the course of an 82-game season, because the last couple of years under Coach Scott Brooks, the focus was to get better defensively. I think Wes Unseld Jr. is a guy who can do that as opposed to whatever was slipping through the cracks previously. So I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe optimistically cautious, because an 82-game slug is a long season, and you never know with the Wiz. But I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of product they'll have. The home openers this Friday, I'll be there and sending back updates for WTOP.
All right, just don't wear that shirt. That's Pacers blue you're wearing. That's home opener. Rob,
I'm interested to see. I agree with Dave on the Wes Unseld edition. I think that he's paid his dues. This is not a guy who comes in because of his name. I think he has really paid his dues, and he's been around long enough to earn this opportunity. And everything that we've heard about him, everything we've heard from him, suggests that this is a really good hire and they're going in a positive direction. The thing that I want to see is how Spencer Dinwiddie does, because we were talking about the tradition at the point guard position that the Wizards have had, and even though they haven't had the on-court success that we would like for them over the course of the last let's call it 20 years, they have been really solid at the point guard position for much of that time. So having Dinwiddie, if he's that guy that he was in 2019, then they've got something. A guy who's averaging 20 points a game, 7 assists. That's a real nice pairing with Bradley Beal if he is healthy and he's back up to being that guy. I love the size that they acquired in that Westbrook trade. getting bigger guys and being able guys who can stretch the floor and also rebound the basketball. I mean, that is huge. And as you mentioned, Daniel Gafford, I mean, what was it? The 17-5 down the stretch since they had him. So yeah. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that this guy is a spark plug and one of those glue guys. You always need one of those glue guys to have the 2 stars or, the 3 stars like a lot of people have. I mean, that's great. And obviously you need that to be a championship contender. But if you don't have the glue guys, that's the difference between winning and losing in the playoffs. And I think Daniel Gafford is one of those glue guys. But I'm interested, Dave J, if I can ask you this, because, he's a center, Gafford is. You're getting Thomas Bryant back. I mean, can we play those guys together, or are we playing them in tandem? I
think you can play them together, Thomas Bryant and Daniel Gafford. I think it also the center position is an example of the options this team has, because you just mentioned a glue guy. Montrezl Harrell is somebody that when the Wizards acquired him, that may have been the player that I was most excited about, because he gives, and I mean this in a good way, gives the Wizards something they have not had, a dog type player who's going to get out there, who's going to play with a lot of, I don't know if energy is the right word. He plays with a ferocity, and I hope that is a word. Please Google it, because it might not be. But
no, you're good.
He really infuses energy in the rest of the team, and we saw that in the preseason. I certainly witnessed it when we had to play against him. So you bring him off the bench, and suddenly the game changes, and you're going to notice him, and he creates the right kind of chaos. And the Daniel Gafford experience is not an accident. He had 17, I don't care if it was preseason, he had 17 rebounds in a preseason game. So now you have a Wizards team that you're talking about getting better on defense. Well, they have rim protectors, guys that are going to get you out of the lane when you're talking a Gafford, a Montrezl Harrell. And the exciting thing is you're talking about different players. Thomas Bryant and Daniel Gafford, needless to say, are not the same player. And Gafford is a classic example of what can happen where it's fit and opportunity. He was not wanted in Chicago. He was saying, I'm playing myself out of the league. He was mentally not in a good space. He comes to Washington. They say, we want you. All of a sudden, we see with the Daniel Gafford, I'm oversimplifying it, but the fact that he was wanted by the Wizards, he felt like, all right, this is a place that I can do something. He is doing it. The other thing that Wes Unseld Jr., his defensive approach, if fixing teams' defenses was an easy solution, every team would do it. And as Wes Unseld said, he tried things in Denver where one team would be successful with a certain, and he would try to apply it to the Nuggets, and it wouldn't work. So there's not one size fits all in fixing defense. And so I think what's going to work in Wes Unseld's favor is his ability to form relationships, make connections with players, because that's part of pushing the right buttons defensively. And that may be the most exciting thing. We might see the best defense we've ever seen of Bradley Beal, because there won't be as much pressure on him to score 30 points a game. He can, but with this lineup, I don't think he needs to. And I think we saw some brief flashes of that in a brief preseason. So suddenly, if there's not as much pressure on Bradley Beal, I think this gives the Wizards a better chance at long-term success. So there's a lot of aspects of this team, as I started this by saying, there's not a lot of expectations on them, but you look around that roster, there's the Kyle Kuzmas, the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, these guys, Montrezl Harrell, these are guys that know how to win. You pick up an Aaron Holiday, who quite frankly is not on I don't think anybody's radar, and you see him out there the way he plays with the whole Neto, and I just called Montrezl Harrell a dog type player at the center position, where he brings that energy. Well, that Neto and Holiday play with that same kind of energy. So this is a team that's going to get after it, that's going to play hard, and is going to score, and that can be a recipe for success in the NBA.
And how long do you think it'll take for the defense to come around? Because I mean, you said it is a process just to get your system in place and get guys used to it. And how long do you think that it takes for the defense to get to the level that we expect?
Well, and that's the $1 million question. How long the defense, how long, and again, this really is, as much as I said, well, remember it was a playoff team last year. This is a whole new team. Yes, there are key players that are coming back, but this really is a new team. So I think Contavious Caldwell-Pope made the comment that it's, about once it becomes a chain reaction, you have trust in all of your teammates that are on the floor, defense, in his words, becomes easy. It was a quick preseason. I'm not saying they should have had 8 games like the old days, but as they start this season now, I think there's going to be some rocky moments, but it circles back to you can solve a lot of defensive problems if you can protect the rim and protect the lane. And I think the Wizards are more capable of doing that in October of 2021 than they were a year ago.
That's good enough for me. What's the prediction? Are you allowed to do a prediction? I got them winning 38 games.
Gentlemen, are we still going?
Yeah, we're still going, Dave.
Beautiful.
You're just in time for the prediction. What do you think the Wizards do this year? I got them 38 games.
The problem is every time.
Okay. I was thinking in that I'm saying 40 and 42.
Okay.
Oh no,
right.
I can't do ties. No, I can't do ties.
No
right.
ties.
I'm going to be more optimistic, and I think this team does make the playoffs, and it is 42 and 40. And one of the things is, as we just talked about all the positives of the Wizards, I had myself talked into a 50-win season, and then I have to remind myself that I'm the same guy that picked Washington to have 10 wins in the football season because I was starting to think about all the great things on defense. So I should not be allowed to make predictions. It just should, it's like I don't have the right eyesight. You shouldn't drive after midnight.
No, but you got the fan mentality though. Fans are always optimistic before the season, and so there's nothing wrong with that.
I'll say this: when you are, it is when you're close to a team, like in this case for me, the Wizards. It's sometimes, I don't want to say it's hard to be objective, but you do appreciate the work that's put in. In the case with this team, and so you want to believe that work is going to pay off, but guess what? The other 29 teams are probably working just as hard. But I do think this is a team capable of making the playoffs, and I don't think 42 wins is a stretch. So I'm going to go with that. I think basically we're all in the same ballpark prediction wise.
Yeah, I mean they would have to stay pretty relatively healthy, and some things would have to break their way. Obviously, to me, that 42 wins, I think that would be a best case scenario. But I think it's totally attainable. I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Yeah, no, and you just hit the injuries.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If knock on wood, Beal goes down for half a season, then everything is different then. So
all right. Well, based on that.
Before we wrap up, if I can do just a minor audible at the line of scrimmage in the huddle. Going to shift gears 1 second. Last week we were talking about the Capitals as they were starting up their season. One of the question marks in my piece last week on WTOP.com, Evgeny Kuznetsov. Which Kuzi will we get this year? He's having a great start, 2 goals, 4 assists. He had a bad pass Tuesday evening that led to a shorthanded goal for the Avalanche, but we're getting the Kuzi that we had hoped so far. Small sample size, only 3 games, but all signs point to we're getting the guy that we thought that we had a couple of years ago.
Almost had a trick. He was inches away from a 3rd goal.
Well, and that's why sports always gives us hope, because I think we've written off Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Peter Laviolette made the comment that they've had a rocky relationship, but he also noted that Kuznetsov put in the work this summer to change things, and now we're seeing the benefits of that. So we'll end on a happy note. See, Rob had Bradley Beal injured. He's going to edit that out of the piece. It's already giving me a headache. We wish good health for everybody and changes in the positive direction. And we thank you for spending some time with us.
Break.